All right, Mr. Lin, welcome. I'd like to thank you for coming all the way down here for this interview. Before we get started, I'm just going to be asking you a few questions. And if you have any other questions of your own, just let me know.
All right.
So, our first question is going to be to just tell me about yourself.
First off, I would like to thank you for uh, accepting my application and allowing me to get this interview with you. So thank you very much. And a little bit about myself. My name is Leon Lin. I'm currently 18 years old. I applied to this job because I really wanted to get a position in software engineering or just as a coder for your guys' company. Um, Growing up as a kid, I always wanted to be a software engineer and code for like a big company like yours. I've really admired your guys' work for a long time. So um, it's really a pleasure to be here and to be able to take this interview. I've currently had one internship at another company where it involved coding. So this will be my first ever job.
Okay, so what would you consider are your strengths?
Some strengths. So one of my biggest strengths that I believe that I have is I've always been able to stay level-headed and calm during intense or tense situations. For example, in my past internship, we would have a lot of projects where they would just come out all of a sudden, and we would have to finish these projects in a day or so. During this time, I would be able to stay calm and not panic, and I would always get my work done in a timely fashion instead of panicking and messing up a lot. I'm able to just calm down, reassess the situation, and get the job done. Another strength that I believe I have is I'm able to work really well with others. In my past internship, I worked in a group of six, and we all got together really, really well. I'm able to help my other group members stay calm and able to work with them really well during our projects, and I believe that is another strength that I have.
Okay, so since we went over strengths, what would you consider are your weaknesses?
Um, so some weaknesses that I believe that I may have is that I pay too much attention to small details. Um, I really like to nitpick at little things that really are not necessary to really be picked at. There have been times where me nitpicking at little problems in our code or just overthinking about little problems in our code has almost led us to not get the project finished on time. And I believe that I really need to work on this problem, and it is a weakness of mine that I need to let go of instead of paying so much attention to small details that are unnecessary. And another weakness that I believe I have is that I like to help others too much. There have been times where I've overextended my position and I wanted to help another colleague when it wasn't necessarily needed. And I believe that me overstepping my grounds and trying to help others may possibly lead to problems. So I believe that is another weakness that I have that I would really like to work on.
Okay, that'd be fair. So the next question will be why do you want this job?
Why do I want this job? So ever since, like I said earlier in the presentation, ever since I was a kid, I always wanted to work on coding. I always like to use my critical thinking skills in solving problems. And my dad is also a coder, so watching him as I grew up, it just really intrigued me how he would be able to do so many things with just a computer right in front of him. And I've always wanted to do that as well. Not to mention that your guys' company has been a really big company that I've really admired, and I've really admired your guys' work. I've always wanted to work for you guys, and it would be like my dream job in my dream career if I was able to work for you guys. So I believe if I'm able to take my talents and my efforts into this job, I'll be able to make a big impact.
Okay, so the last question will be how will you deal with other colleagues who are difficult or unreasonable?
Um, First, I would like to address the situation that this colleague has that is bothering them, whether it be an issue that's major or just a minor problem. I would address the problem to them and hear their side of the story. I would like to communicate properly with them and try to understand them as best as possible. After I get a good understanding of why this problem is bothering them, I would then explain to them my stance on the issue and try to come up with a solution for this problem. For example, there has been a problem before in my past internship where my colleague didn't like the way that I wrote in C sharp. So instead, I changed my coding style and I used C++ instead of C sharp to adapt to his style of coding, and this seemed to resolve the issue between us, and we were able to work on future projects perfectly.
Okay, Mr. Lin, that should conclude our interview. Do you have any last questions for me or about the job or the company?
Not as of right now. I would just like to thank you for having me out here again, and thank you for taking your time to interview me.
No problem. I'll let you know when you get the job, and I'll be in contact with you very soon.
All right, thank you, sir.